West Coast Mafia. Shalom. Daniel Ben Cole. To my left is Dawid Ben Israel. And to my right is Azaria Ben Daniel. And today we're going to cover the book of Obadiah. We're continuing on in the Who is Esau series. And this book right here is the one that everyone clings to when it comes to the Esau is the white man doctrine. And throughout all the videos, all the comments, I keep getting this comment. Explain Obadiah. Explain that book. Because this proves that Esau is a so-called white man. But we're going to get into it and show you that it doesn't prove that. As a matter of fact, it disproves it. We're also going to prove that that doctrine that you use or your interpretation of Obadiah is totally false. It's been handed down to you from false teachers and false prophets. So let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time. We're going to cover the whole chapter. The book of Obadiah, verse 1. Go ahead.
The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith Yahweh mighty one concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle.
Go ahead.
Verse 2. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised.
So it says here, the Edomites are small amongst the heathen. Not large, but small. And throughout history, the Edomites didn't kick up a whole lot of dust. They never had any empire. They never went too far away from their homeland. There's no proof or historical records of the Edomites as a nation traveling outside the land known as the Middle East. Okay? The only proof that we have and that we can go by come from the scriptures and historical records. So what we can see here is that they're small amongst the heathen, not large, like the so-called white man is large. All right, read on.
Verse 3. The pride of thy heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock.
Now, what does it mean to dwell in the clefts of the rock? Many of you say, see, they're cavemen. That's why they like living in big buildings. Well, did you forget who built the first skyscraper? Have you heard of the Tower of Babel? So how can you compare that to Babylonians? You compare apples to oranges. All right? You trying to use that as an excuse that, oh, they dwell in the clefts of the rock. They like living up high. No, that's not what that's saying. Let's explain it. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Go ahead and give me a sarcophagus of an ancient civilization. This book right here has a whole lot of information on Edom. You say you can't get information on Edom. Some of you out there lying. There's lots of information on Edom. Go ahead.
This is page 5 in the chapter entitled The Discovery of Petra. The Greeks unquestionably knew it as Petra. So Edward Meyer, on the basis of the Septuagint, regards the identification of Petra and Sela as indisputable.
Okay. So we know that word translated rock in verse 3 is the Hebrew word Selah. And in Greek, it's called Petra. So thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, of this rock city Petra, not the skyscrapers down in Manhattan, but Petra. All right? Read on.
Whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?
Go ahead.
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh.
And this is where you guys really go off in left field. You start bringing all these examples. See, who's the eagle? Look at the back of the dollar bill. Who's the eagle? The Romans had the eagle as a standard. Yeah, that's true. But that's not what this is talking about. We're going to prove that. All right? Give me book of Ezekiel, chapter 17. You're going to read verses 1 through 8, and then you're going to read verses 17, or verses 12 through 17. So that's Ezekiel chapter 17, start at verse 1.
And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle and speak a parable unto the house of Israel.
Okay, there's going to be a parable spoken to the house of Israel. Go ahead.
And say, Thus saith Yahweh the mighty, a great eagle with great wings, long winged, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came into Lebanon.
Okay, so this eagle came into Lebanon. You're going to see right here in this chapter who the eagle is referred to here. All right, read on.
And took the highest branch of the cedar. He cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into a land of traffic. He set it in a city of merchants. He took also of the seed of the land and planted it in a fruitful field. He placed it by great waters and set it as a willow tree. And it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature.
Now, just if you're paying attention to this parable, you should be able to tell right now who is speaking of it. But just in case you can't, the scripture's going to tell you who is speaking of it. Go ahead.
Whose branches turned toward him, and the roots thereof were under him. So it became a vine, and brought forth branches, and shot forth sprigs. There was also another great eagle, with great wings and many feathers. And behold, this vine did bend her roots toward him, and shot forth her branches toward him, that he might water it by the furrows of her plantation.
So you can see two great eagles being described here. And they're going to give you the explanation of this. They're going to tell you who these eagles are referring to. Read on.
It was planted in a good soil by great waters, that it might bring forth branches, and that it might bear fruit, that it might be a goodly vine. Verse 12. Say now to the rebellious house, know ye not what these things mean? Tell them, behold, the king of Babylon is come to Jerusalem.
Okay, the king of Babylon is come to Jerusalem. So that's one eagle. Read on.
And hath taken the king thereof, and the princes thereof, and led them with him to Babylon. And hath taken of the king's seed, and made a covenant with him, and hath taken an oath of him, he hath also taken the mighty of the land. That the kingdom might be base, that it might not lift itself up, but that by keeping of his covenant it might stand. But he rebelled against him in sending his ambassadors into Egypt, that they might give him horses and much people.
Whoa, there were some ambassadors who were sent into Egypt. Read on.
Shall he prosper? Shall he escape that doeth such things? Or shall he break the covenant and be delivered? As I live, saith Yahweh the mighty one, surely in the place where the king dwelleth that made him king, whose oath he despised, and whose covenant he brake, even with him in the midst of Babylon he shall die. Neither shall Pharaoh, with his mighty army and great company, make for him in the war by casting up mounts and building forts to cut off many persons.
Okay, so that's clear right there. You got the king of Babylon, one eagle, and you have Pharaoh, that's another eagle. So this shows you in scripture how an eagle does not have to necessarily be the so-called white man.
That's right.
Now let's explain what the eagle is in the book of Obadiah. Give me Job chapter 39. Job chapter 39, and you're going to read verses 27 and 28. Go ahead.
Job 39, verse 27. Does the eagle mount up at thy command and make her nest on high? She dwelleth and abideth on the rock, upon the crag of the rock, and the strong place. From thence she seeketh the prey, and her eyes behold afar off. Her young ones also suck up blood, and where she is slain there is she.
Okay, so it says here in Job, it tells you the characteristics of the eagle. She dwelleth on the crag of the rock, or the clefts of the rock. Okay, now let's further prove that. Go ahead and get Ezekiel chapter 17.
Singers, is your side job sucking your time and energy away from your singing? Do you wish you could finally quit and chase your dreams as